Most people are sleepwalking through numbers that should be keeping them up at night. They scroll past price charts, argue over market cycles, and speculate on the next all-time high. But very few, almost no one, has taken the time to do the math. The kind of math that rewires how you see your future. Now, not in dollars, not in net worth, but in supply. And here's the secret. If you own just 0.01 worth of Bitcoin, you are statistically more rare than a millionaire. You are in the top fraction of a percentage of future financial sovereignty, and yet no one is hardly talking about this. Now, why is this? Well, because it's not flashy, it's not sexy, and it doesn't promise 100x returns in a week. But what it does promise is something far more powerful, and that's position. Now, I just quickly want to chuck this in here. This is a course of mine, and it's called Sovereign by Design. Now, this is completely free, and if you want to come and check it out, there'll be a link for this down in the description below. See, let's break a myth that keeps a lot of people poor. The idea that you need a lot of something to change your life. A lot of money, a lot of influence, a lot of followers. Now, it's the same mindset that makes people say, Bitcoin's too expensive, I missed it, I can't afford a whole coin. See, they still think in whole units, they think in old money terms, but Bitcoin doesn't work like the legacy system. It doesn't reward you based on how much you appear to have. It rewards you based on how early you understood the truth, and how much conviction you had when everyone else laughed. Because here's what most people don't realize. Bitcoin's total supply is 21 million, and that's ever. Now that number will never change, not with a vote, not with a war, not with a policy. But here's where it gets wild. There are over 8 billion people on Earth, which means if we split Bitcoin evenly among everyone, each person would only get 0.0026 worth of Bitcoin. Now that's about a quarter of 0.01. So if you own even 0.01 worth of Bitcoin, you're not average. You're in the top 0.3% of potential holders, and that's mathematically. Now that's not early adopter, that's generationally early. And now subtract the following. Lost coins, estimated at roughly 3 to 4 million. Institutional custody, so companies like MicroStrategy, BlackRock, ETFs, governments, and long-term hodlers who will never sell. Now that reduces the liquid supply dramatically. And what you're left with is this. Owning 0.01 worth of Bitcoin might become the new millionaire status of the next era. But while everyone's chasing six figures in fiat, you're stacking the most scarce digital asset ever created at fractions that they ignore. See, imagine 10 years from now. Bitcoin's adoption curves have played out like the internet did. Governments and corporations run stablecoins on Bitcoin rails. Pension funds are forced to hold it, and smart nations stockpile it like gold. And retail investors, well, they're scrambling for crumbs and fighting over 0.001, 100,000 satoshis, like it's real estate in Manhattan. But now pause. Look at your cold wallet. You've got 0.01 worth of Bitcoin, which is 1 million satoshis. Now it's nothing flashy, maybe $1,000 at today's price, give or take. But in 10 years, it may not represent a few $1,000s. It may represent a tier of sovereignty that fiat can't even measure. Because in a world drowning in printable money, owning something unprintable becomes the flex. And the kicker, well, you didn't need millions to get there. You just needed awareness, you needed time, and you needed to take action when it felt too small to matter. See, let me tell you something most high net worth people understand intuitively. Wealth is not about what you have, it's about what you own early and how scarce it becomes. See, in the early days of the internet, most mocked domain names. Who cares about some digital address? But today, well, you'd need 7 figures to buy a single word .com. Now, in the early days of farmland, nobody thought dirt was an asset, but today it's being bought by hedge funds as a geopolitical strategy. And in the early days of Bitcoin, 0.01 worth of Bitcoin was a rounding error, but soon it may be the digital equivalent of a plot of sovereign land in cyberspace. And that's how smart wealth moves. Not loud, not viral, just positioned. So let's rewire the way we talk about this. You're not buying 0.01 worth of Bitcoin, you're buying leverage against the system, against inflation, against history. Now you're not gambling, you're front-running inevitability, because money has always moved toward scarcity, and trust always shifts away from institutions and towards math when the lies get loud enough. Now 0.01 worth of Bitcoin isn't a flex, it's a firewall. And here's the twist, it's not just about money, because what does 0.01 worth of Bitcoin really buy you? Well, it buys you time. It buys you an exit from the job you hate, the system that bleeds you, and the currency that lies to you. It buys you space, mental space, creative space, decision space. And it buys you identity, because you're no longer a wage slave begging for retirement. And one day, when your children or your community asks how you stayed free when the system collapsed, you'll show them a wallet with 0.01 worth of Bitcoin. And you'll say, I saw what was coming, I acted when it was still easy, and I protected something that they could never print. See, we've been trained to chase illusions, big numbers, flashy returns, Ferraris and fake Rolexes. But the real rich list of the next 20 years, well, it's going to be written in Satoshis. And here's the best part, you don't need permission. You don't need a financial advisor. You don't need a hedge fund. You need a wallet, $1,000, and conviction. Because when the world wakes up and realizes what 0.01 worth of Bitcoin really means, the gate will already be closed. So the question isn't, should I buy Bitcoin? Because that question is outdated. The real question is, how much of your future are you willing to leave unprotected? Because right now you have a window to accumulate what the rest of the world will one day beg to borrow, to own what cannot be printed, censored or inflated away. And if you can see what 0.01 worth of Bitcoin really represents, well, you're already ahead of 99.9% of everyone else. So don't wait for permission, don't wait for the masses, and don't wait until prices proves the truth. Own the truth before they price it in. Now, one last time, if you do want to come check this out, there'll be a link for this down in the description below. Now, if you've made it this far, and if you're looking for something else to watch, well, I have this playlist just here, which you can go ahead and binge watch if you enjoy my content, or if you want to watch a shorter video, you can watch this one of mine just here, which is recommended by YouTube.